Good morning, students. Welcome back. Today's going to be a fun day. We're going to actually uncover a situation where the book has the wrong answer. Don't we love it when the book has the wrong answer? We can really put our professor on the spot. So I hope you enjoy this one. This is Podcast 2, Marginal Product of Labor. Thanks. We are Marginal Product of Labor, Podcast number 2, and how the textbook got the wrong answer. This podcast is going to explore the bad math used to justify economic theory. Disproving this theory is important, as this theory is used to teach society strange ideas, like everyone receives a fair wage, and unions that negotiate a higher wage are just market distortions that can cause inflation. That's what they teach you in an economics class. So let's dig into it. Here we have data from Gregory Mankiw, his book on economics, chapter 18, table 1. And he's got all the things that you typically find in an economics chart of data, labor, output, all these crazy terms that economists like. And the first thing to note is, notice that the outputs are rates, not actual bushels, but rates. And we talked about how that can cause problems. And that labor is the number of head count, not person hours. This is, again, the distortion we talked about in the first part of marginal product of labor discussion. So this theory says the marginal product of labor predicts 3 workers as the proper level of staffing. What they say is when this $500 wage matches this crazy term here that they created, value of marginal product of labor, once they are equal to each other, hiring stops. We don't hire any more people. We don't produce any more product. We stop on our tracks right there because that's when profits are maximized, right there. Okay, let's get that straight. We're only going to hire 3 people. We're not going to produce any more product. We're going to stop right there. Number 1, it's a crazy theory. But let's talk about the errors leading to this incorrect solution. So first, again, as we said, production is not driven by number of workers. It's driven by product of workers' times and productivity. And notice the wages are kind of incorrect or strange. Here it says 5 people, wage per week, $500. There should be $2,500 in wages here. This has caused serious problems for calculating profits for these people. But that's not the biggest part of the problem with this thing. But it is kind of weird. Someone should have seen that one right away. So let's modify this. Let's take the same data and move it to person weeks and productivity. So to correct this analysis, we'll take the exact same data that Mankiw gave us. And we're going to determine productivity based upon team size. So this was Mankiw's original data. And this is the productivity of each team. This 5-person team can produce 60 bushels per person per week. So you get 300 bushels in a week. These are just productivity numbers from Mankiw's own data. Okay? Now, to see what happens, let's identify our production goal. And the best production goal is this one right here. Let's go out and produce 300 bushels of apples. Okay? And first we've got to do is how many person weeks does it take to harvest this? Okay, if this is my productivity and this is what I got to harvest, all I do is divide this by this to get the number of person weeks to do this. So 300 bushels by a 5-person team happens in 1 week, so it's 5 person weeks, and this guy's only 3. And next step is determine the cost of the harvest. It's $500 per person week. So right here we can see the data. This is our cost data. If you're on your toes, you can say, wait a second, we're not going to get the same answer the book got, because if we sell 300 bushels at $100 each, we make $3,000. But this is our cost to harvest. And look at this. Maximum profit happens at the least amount of cost. It happens right here. That's where we maximize profit, not the 3-person team as suggested by the economists. So even though they made up the data for this problem, they got the wrong answer. So they need to work a bit on their math. So economists have confused productivity with production. You just can't do that. So here was the trick to it. Here was this crazy number of workers, quantity of output, econ production function, but it's not production, it's a rate. So what you got to do is let them all go harvest 300 bushels. And when you take the same data and let them harvest 300 bushels, this is what you end up with. Again, the one-person team has the highest productivity. So person time must be used when examining production function. This is an inherent fault in all economics work. So why do they do this? Well, one of the things they're trying to support is they're trying to support one of their core beliefs. Econ 101 people believe in supply and demand curves, and they will teach every poor student in that class that this data is where a supply and demand curve comes from. All right, but remember, this data was all just made up. They didn't get it from anywhere. They just made it up. But this beautiful data creates this beautiful set of curves, and they will put this in a book and razzle dazzle the students and go, well, look at this. And what this theory says is, here's my wage rate. That's my supply curve, whatever. And whatever my wage rate matches this other crazy thing over here, which they say is the demand curve, that's how many people I'm going to hire. And if the wage rate goes up, I'm going to hire fewer people. So if my wage rate goes from 500 to 600, it's kind of weird that I got these halves here, but let's say it went to 800, I'm only going to hire 2 people. And my production is going to stop. Whatever 2 people can make, that's all I'm going to make. This is crazy. This data is made up just to support these goofy curves. And also notice, this is still people down here. People do not drive production. Production is person hours. So this is all bad math just to support a goofy theory about supply and demand curves. So let's talk about what happens in the real world. In the real world, team size establishes maximum productivity. Extra production is achieved with extra hours or additional teams. And generally try and avoid overtime whenever possible. But in some cases, overtime is the least expensive way to go. For example, if you need 45 hours of production out of 50 people instead of 40, you work overtime. You don't bring in another shift and have them sit on their dust for 35 hours. So modern manufacturing processes like lean manage productivity very tightly, okay? And the constant level of productivity is consistent with accounting sees in their observations of manufacturing costs. In fact, you can bet $100 that anybody out there managing a production floor has productivity as one of their primary measures in how the manufacturing floor is operating. So let's relate this to our break-even model. So remember the way these break-even models work. We've got average total cost here. We've got a price for our product here. We got a set variable cost per unit, and as we move down, these grow. So let's see how this operates as production grows up. Here's what's going to happen. I start selling stuff. This box represents my fixed cost. Okay. Since my fixed cost exceeds my revenue, this is losses. I'm losing money at the beginning of the month. Okay. Let's sell some more. As I sell some more, my total variable costs are growing at a constant rate. And this is my fixed cost. Same area as before, but I'm losing this amount of money. Could be less, could be more. But magically, I get to this point, and my total variable cost plus my total fixed cost equals my revenue, and nobody's making money. So beyond this point, this green area is all profit, okay? My variable costs keep growing, and my profits are right there. These charts may look different, but they're actually the same area. The area of this green square would be the same as the area of this green square. It's just the way the math works out. You can present this either way you want. So in the real world, firms are motivated by profits, not price. Okay, we'll sell more if we can make more money. Okay, we're not going to stop hiring people if we can sell more units. So if we believe in this stuff, okay, one thing that comes out, for every dollar reduction in labor costs, profits go up by the same amount. So if I reduce my labor costs, I increase my profits. Reduce my labor costs, increase my profits. That's why there's always pressure on the cost of production. Labor costs can only be reduced by cutting the wage or by moving production out of the country where there's a lower wage rate, or increasing productivity. This is the difficulty we've been facing in the U.S. for the last 30, 40 years. Labor costs around the world are lower than labor costs in the USA, and so jobs leave. That's the fact of life. That's the real economics of it. And then all production environments have an equal number of employees. This determines how many people are hired, not the wage rate. If you build a manufacturing floor in Detroit, you build that same manufacturing floor in Mexico somewhere, you're still going to hire 80 people to run that production line, regardless of what their wages are. And also, selling more increases profits. That's how the real world works. Okay? Let's talk about what conclusions we reach to if we believe in this nonsense. Warning, this chart is meaningless. Okay? If I'm a union and the union is able to raise the wage rate, there will be fewer jobs. Oh my goodness, this is not good. I need to be careful what I'm asking for if I'm in the union. If I work for minimum wage and the minimum wage is increased, some people will lose their jobs and there will be unemployment. Again, if you move that wage rate up, less people are going to get hired. That's what this goofball theory is teaching you. Okay, if unions succeed in raising their wages above competitive levels, their gains come at the expense of wages of non-union workers. This is Paul Samuelson. And unions cause unemployment for non-union labor sectors. Again, this is Paul Samuelson's work. These are the concepts you learn when you take an economics class that teaches you supply and demand. These conclusions are all false. They only persist for the benefit of the owners and those that work for the owners promoting these theories. That's the only reason these theories persist, because most everybody out there knows they're wrong. Students will be better off taking a financial literacy class. Skip economics, take financial literacy or personal finance. So thanks for listening, and do what you need to know, do what you need to do to go out there and find the knowledge that you need to be successful and prosper. Thanks for listening, and take care. See ya. Bye.